Hi guys, I hope everybody's safe and doing well. Like everybody else right now, I am working on some homemade masks. It's Sunday, April 5th, I think. I don't know. It's getting hard to tell what day it is. Anyway, but a couple days ago, the CDC released their most recent recommendation that everyone wear masks when they're going out in public. But not medical masks. If you have any of those, please forward them on to your local hospital or first responders. They desperately need those. If you don't have a pressing medical need for them at home, please do think about passing those on and using a homemade mask. Again, as I've said before, I'm an essential worker, so my coworkers and I do have to go out in public at least to get to work. So I am making some masks for us. Was hoping to make some for hospitals as well, but I wasn't able to because I don't have enough supplies to make them the way I want. And honestly, the last couple of days I'm reminded exactly how rusty my sewing skills are, and I'm not sure that I could make something that would hold up well enough to be in a hospital setting. But anyway, I will post a link to the tutorials that I followed on here. It also happens to be the website for one of my local hospital systems. So it has a way to donate PPE if that's something that you're interested in doing. Please consider doing that as well. I sent you to the hospital page instead of directly to the YouTube tutorials. But I'm going to make a basic mask. I've already cut them. I've actually already made a couple. Here's what they ended up looking like. So they're nothing too complicated. They're nothing too complex, which is good because that's about where my sewing skills are at. Anyway, here's how I did it. First, I had a piece of flannel. I don't have any interfacing, so this flannel is kind of giving it a little bit of a little bit of structure and a little bit of form because it's a little bit thicker, heavier material. This was actually the thing that I ran out of first and stopped me from making more masks because I decided that I just really didn't like the weight of them without the flannel. So first is the flannel. I'll put that down on my table. Next up is the outside of the mask. One thing I'm really not good at is cutting straight lines, so I loved the fact that I happen to have this fabric available. All of this is just stuff that I had upstairs in my really old sewing projects. But anyway, one of the reasons I love this is because it's all nice small plaid, and my measurements pretty much got to be on those lines. And I can cut a straight line if I have a guide. So this was an awesome fabric. Again, these fabric squares are 9 inches by 6 inches roughly. The solid colors are probably not as exact. So I'm just setting that on top of the flannel. Then I'm using elastic. If you're making these to donate to a hospital, they're actually saying the elastic, first of all, isn't holding up as well in the extreme heat that they wash them in, and second of all, it's just not as comfortable. They're asking for cloth ties, and there's also a tutorial for those in the link that I am going to show you. But I'm just using these for quick grocery store runs and to get to and from work for me and those of my coworkers that I was able to make them for before I ran out. So I'm using elastic. This is 1/4 inch. I think I've heard 1/8 of an inch or smaller is more comfortable, but good luck buying elastic right now because I tried to replenish my stock and wasn't able. So I'm just going to attach this to the front surface of the mask. like that, so that it is inside. And that's very important. I'm currently ripping out the ones that I put the elastic on wrong because I just wasn't thinking. So I'm going to do that on the other side as well. So there you can see I've got the elastic attached. It's pulling a little bit, that's to be expected. I don't think I mentioned the elastic lengths are 7 inches. So I've got that set. And the next thing I'm going to do is attach the back layer. And for this I just used a solid color quilting fabric that I had stored away. And I place that over top of everything. And then I'm just going to pin the 3 layers of fabric together really quick. And I'm going to regret this because I can tell I got some of these pins in the wrong, facing the wrong direction for the way I'm comfortable sewing, but we'll cross that bridge when we actually get onto the machine. So I might actually release this video a little bit early. I'm not supposed to release a video until next Wednesday, but this is kind of a timely topic and I'm bored. So I might go ahead and just upload this when I get done with it, and it's kind of a bonus content, but then you won't see me again until my next scheduled video. Which would be the Tuesday after Easter. I probably don't need to use quite so many pins on this, but I would like the best chance for it to lay flat. And like I said, my sewing skills were never great to begin with, especially with something like this where I'm just cutting a certain size and not cutting something that has a pattern pinned to it. I'm better at following lines than I am at making my own. Which we'll get into when I discuss why I chose not to do pleats. Okay, so I've got everything pinned together. I did the elastic on the wrong side. Just a minute. I shouldn't be seeing elastic. And this is why I like to shoot these videos, as I'm kind of learning to do something. It reminds you of, okay, maybe they're not common mistakes, maybe they're unique to me, but it reminds, I think sometimes getting to see someone make the mistake and realize it and fix it is a good thing, because then when something goes wrong in your own project, you kind of have seen it before. So you should not see the elastic after you're done putting your backing fabric on top. And notice that this fabric is to the front side of the outer fabric, which I don't think I mentioned before. Don't know if you can hear my dog sniffing at the door or not, but she's definitely interested with something that's out there. So if she starts barking momentarily, I apologize, because that's usually the next step. Or she'll come over here and bug me, because that's also a next step. Hi, pup. Okay, now it's ready, and you can't see the elastic on any side. So I'm just, one thing that I've done, I kind of pinned it differently so that hopefully I'll remember, because that's another mistake that I've made with these, is I want to leave this side largely open, maybe 2.5 inches of this side unsewn. And so that's where I'm going to start, is I'm going to pick my starting location. And we're going to sew. Don't forget to backstitch your starts and stops. And run over the elastic a couple of times. When you get to the corner, just put the needle down, turn your zipper foot up, and rotate the fabric. I'm just leaving my fabric so that it is skimming the edge of the zipper foot. I think that might be, that's about the distance that I want. Take out some of these pins. I have a bad habit of sewing over my pins. My aunt, who taught me to sew, used to get on me about it all the time. And I do it anyway. I haven't broken too many needles that way. I've bent a lot of straight pins, but it's the price you pay. I'm back on the side with the elastics again, so running over that a couple of times just because that's going to be under some pressure. I have no idea what kind of faces I'm making while I'm doing this, but I'm sure they're probably interesting. Pin. I'm going to take that one out before it sticks me again. And now I'm on the last corner, so I'm going to remember to leave a little bit of an opening and to run over my elastic a couple of times. And then back stitch at the end of the seam. We'll get some of these threads off. Now, before I go ahead and actually tuck this through, I'm going to cut some of these corners off so that they'll lay a little bit flatter. And maybe get some of this excess. It looks like the flannel was a little bit bigger than the, oh, just a second. There is a spot where the flannel did not get sewn in. Come on. Don't want a hole in the finished mask. Okay, so you can see, well, maybe you can't. The lighting's really bad. It's better on this side. Got the edges sewn all the way, except on this side, it's still open a little bit. As I was saying, I'm just going to take and cut these corners off. Gets rid of some of that excess fabric, so that'll help it lay a little bit flatter. You can see where I've got the corners cut off. So the next thing I'm going to do is turn this inside out. And moment of truth, did I make it right? I don't know. I'm about 2 out of 4 right now, so we'll find out if it's 3 out of 5. And I'm just tugging on the elastic to get the corners to come out. This corner is a little bit of a pain. So, there we go. I've got the mask turned right side out. I have my opening where I turned it inside out, so all I did is I am folding over the edges. So this will be finished off. Pin those closed. I was hoping to actually use a head mount so that you could see more of what I'm doing. I do have one, I can't seem to find it, so I'm sorry that this is kind of off to the side, and I'm hoping that everything I'm showing you is coming through okay. So I've just got this finished off and pinned, closed, and now I'm just going to do a really narrow seam around all the edges to close this off and to keep this from shifting, to kind of hold the 2 layers in place together. Again, I'm just doing it about the width of the zipper foot. I think that might be a 1/4 inch seam. I don't know. This is actually, one thing I didn't mention, this is my mom's old sewing machine. Before her, it was my grandpa's. And this is the first time I've used it since I was really young, so I'm trying to remember a lot of things about it. So if it seems like I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing, that's part of the reason why. But I'm really excited to be sewing on it again, not just because it was my mom's and my grandpa's, but because it's exactly like the one I learned on. So I'm remembering things pretty quickly, and I'm a lot more comfortable with it than I am with the replacement that I bought a few years ago. And I will be sad when it eventually stops working, because I think it's older than I am. And again, it's the same turn that I was doing before. Make sure the needle's in the fabric, lift the zipper foot, and rotate the fabric under the needle. Cut the threads off. And there we go. All done. Covers the face. I think one thing that the tutorial that I read recommended was to put pleats in it. However, because I'm a lousy, I am lousy at measuring and cutting, I think these are a little bit smaller than they should have been. They barely cover my nose and mouth as it is, and granted the pleats, because they stretch, would not add a lot of, would not take away a lot of the length of it. They would take away some, and since they're just a little bit small to begin with, I decided not to do it. But that would take away that bulge that you saw on the sides. It would let it fit the face more perfectly. But honestly, the bulge doesn't matter, and here's why. Masks are not to protect you. They're to protect the people around you. They are... All we're trying to do with these masks is we're trying to limit the amount of droplets that are released when people sneeze or cough or even speak. I'm a DNA analyst, and trust me, if you talk over something for a while, your DNA will end up on it, which means that your germs will end up on it too. So they're actually just to kind of prevent the amount of the virus that may be traveling in the air, especially from asymptomatic people who might be exposed but not deliver it. So as long as it's covering the nose and mouth, it's probably good enough. Obviously, stay home. Nothing's completely safe once you go out of the building. We're just trying to minimize exposures as much as we can. So just don't freak out about the fact that it's not closed on the sides. It doesn't need to be a seal around your mouth. The virus is transmitted by droplets. So we're just trying to block those from getting out. At least that's my understanding. I am a biologist, but I'm not an epidemiologist. So please get your information from someone who knows more than me. But just having been a DNA analyst and watching the way that DNA travels from the mouth, I'm assuming that viral particles probably transfer in some of the similar ways, which is why I'm not too worried about the open edges on the sides. Anyway, so that is my somewhat feeble attempt at mask making, as my somewhat feeble attempt at getting the bugs out and trying to remember. Basically what I remembered is the reasons why I don't sew so much. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something. If you're in a position where you can make masks, that you have the stock in, or that you have a store that you can get to that does keep that sort of thing in stock, curbside pickup obviously, or an online source, please do that if you possibly can. But most importantly, try to stay safe, try to stay healthy, and I'll see you next time. And I hope you enjoy the bonus video. Bye!